Hello everyone, my name is Michael and I want to welcome you back to Sovereign Gaming. So as you can see on screen here, we are making our way back up to the area just in between Old Town and the government campus in Sim City. And the work that I'm kind of doing on here is something actually to answer an intrusive thought of mine that I've had ever since painting the beach, and that is to actually open it up and make it into a real beach. And I think that this would be something that would be more than acceptable within the Sim City build here, because this is located in a tropical area, so you would think that they would have beaches nearby or within the city itself, and this just felt like the right area to do it in. So I decided to bite the bullet and actually just kind of answer that intrusive thought of mine and make it happen. So yeah, that is what we are starting on today, but today's focus in the episode is actually just going around and doing a bunch of fixes and doing some detailing work around the Sim City core as we know it today. So that is exactly what we are going to do. We're going to work on this beach, and then we're going to move on to doing to adding in some more vegetation and doing some more boulevard detailing as well. As you may have noticed already on screen, I haven't smoothed out the terrain from the street level to the beach level, and I am actually doing that on purpose. And that purpose is that in the Create a World, not in Create a World, but in The Sims 3, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be placing some foundations to cover that difference in terrain and have some stairs actually leading down onto the beach area. You see, the biggest problem with beach areas and like actually creating a beach is that you actually need a lot of flat land, but it just doesn't stop there. You need a lot of flat land that is almost in the water. So it needs to look natural from the beach level up until the swimming portion of the lot. And the reason that you need to have such specific terrain is that if you want your Sims to actually like lie down and sunbathe, they need quite a bit of space to do it in. And so that was really the idea here, is just to introduce that kind of, is to actually make that kind of gameplay available to players right in the city. Originally, I was going to scatter beaches throughout the rest of the SimCity world outside the city itself, but this specific area of the city really called for a beach, and I decided to just kind of go with the flow there, and yeah, that is exactly how it has turned out to be. It is going to be a new urban beach. It'll probably be the most popular beach, kind of like Bondi Beach in Sydney. So that's really the idea, or the Copacabana Beach or the Ipanema beaches in Rio de Janeiro. So yeah, it's a beach that sits right at the foot of the city, and it is going to be something that is super popular with locals and tourists alike. Aside from that, like, I did give it 2 lots, so I have technically 2 beaches to play with. However, I might actually create one of them as a poolside club that came with nightlife, or sorry, late night. Nightlife was Sims 2. Yeah, in late night, you got these, you got a whole smattering of different nightclubs and such, and one of them is a poolside club. So I might actually make one of these into a poolside club with beach access. So I will be very excited to see how that build actually ends up turning out, because yeah, it would be right on the beach. The poolside club would likely have an infinity pool that looks out into the ocean. Of course, it wouldn't be a significantly tall structure or anything of the sort, but it would certainly be like one of those exclusive clubs that you find on the beach. So that would really be the idea with one of those lots there. I'll likely choose the one with the more complicated terrain, only because I can cover more of that with foundations and such. So yeah, that's the idea with the beaches there, now that I've had a chance to actually go back and edit them into the downtown core. Also, you would have noticed me switch the lots for 3 of the lots that bordered Old Town, and my reason being for that is that I actually just want more Old Town architecture. So I decided to switch the sides of those lots just so that they are facing that retaining wall and backing up onto the downtown core. And I really did that because I wanted to have more Old Town lots to play with, but I was also thinking about other community lots such as the Elixir shop, and I think that that would be pretty cool to get in Old Town, because with Old Town it is going to be inspired by the New Orleans area, and that's part of the Sims lore, and not only that, but it would be kind of cool to be getting your potions and elixirs from the Old Town shop or from the shop in Old Town that's in a hole in the wall pretty much. So one elixir shop has just granted us 3 more lots to play with when it comes to Old Town. So yeah, that was a big reason why I wanted to do that. And I also decided to decorate up more of the boulevards leading into Old Town and doing some streetscaping there, including some streetscaping around the ramp that leads from the suspension bridge down into Old Town. And really, the rhyme and reason here is just to do some edits. Like I mentioned before, this episode is about just kind of looking back, doing some edits, adding in some smaller details, and then moving forward from there. And these edits aren't final. Like, as long as I haven't exported this world into The Sims 3, these edits can always be changed and all that. Oh, something to note as well while we are talking about editing stuff that we have done in the past. Trees like to cluster themselves. And with that said, it can be a pain in the butt to actually uncluster trees and then delete singular trees, which is what you would have saw me do like minutes before talking about Old Town here and before I started rambling off about the beaches. So yeah, and what's weird about it, and you'll notice it in the side panel there in the metadata, if I remember it correctly, is that it suddenly turns the like plants into just like game object number whatever. So that's a pain in the butt to actually deal with if I'm looking for a specific one and I can't locate it in there. So yeah, that's just something to kind of keep in mind, as well as that when you're placing trees and plants and vegetation and all that, that they tend to like to cluster with each other. And then when you go back to try to delete them, and when you click to uncluster them, suddenly they become game objects, and then you just have to pray that the mouse is strong enough to actually click through the larger objects to get to the plants. So yeah, even though I'm willing to edit the plants again, I am not looking forward to it if I do end up changing my mind somewhere down the road. To be honest with you guys, I'm still very much on the fence about what to put in these medians that are perfectly square where some of the boulevards meet up with other boulevards. In the high traffic areas, what I did is I decided to go with a lower lying plant such as the alocasias that you see me place there. However, I've also placed some of these small sago palm trees in the Old Town ones. So that one's very much a work in progress there. I gotta make a commitment really to see what I want to do. I would also be open for, again, having both. Maybe it makes more sense to have those alocasia plants where there would be more traffic, and then the small sago plants could fit the Old Town area a little better. Let me know what you have to think about that, though. That's kind of what I'm considering. And if you have a different suggestion, again, feel free to leave that comment right there for me. Another thing that I'm doing as well is I am placing these hydrangeas around the city, and the pattern that I went with was like a white and a blue, and that's just kind of the colors that I imagine SimCity to really have, is like a tropical blue paired with a really bright white. And yeah, I wanted it to reflect in the flowers and some of the more tropical vegetation as well. Even though we did do different colors for the government campus, that was something that was totally intended because I wanted that government campus to feel like a different neighborhood. And so the blue and white flowers are really going to be found throughout the downtown core neighborhoods and also throughout the suburbs as well. And then I'll use different color flowers for different neighborhoods just to kind of introduce that there is a whole different look and feel. I mean, I definitely use different plants and vegetation within Old Town to really do my best to depict that it's a New Orleans inspired area. But yeah, I've mentioned it before in this series, and now we're finally getting a chance to see it grow and to actually come alive and all that. So that's something that I'm very, very happy with in terms of how the city is now starting to come together and starting to look a lot more like a metro region and a city with several neighborhoods in it. I mean, even though like the downtown core is a more high detailed area, and we'll see that as we go along to building the suburbs and such, there are certain themes that are commonly found throughout, and then the white and blue flowers would certainly be the white and blue hydrangeas, would certainly be a set of flowers that will be found within the downtown core and within the suburb. And then when we get past the suburbs into more of the rural areas, it becomes a lot more natural, a lot more wild there. So yeah, that's really the plan when it comes to the vegetation and allowing the vegetation to add an identity to different neighborhoods. What's still coming down the pipeline for the SimCity build outside of the suburbs and the rural builds that I plan on doing includes like a mansion district. I'm thinking honestly that's gonna be more reminiscent of the Hollywood Hills than anything else. And yeah, actually what's immediately coming next though is going to be some sort of a neighborhood that just branches off of the downtown core. And with that neighborhood, it is going to be, it's going to take in a lot of Asian influences. It's going to be more like an Asian fusion neighborhood of some sort. I'm calling it Asia Square just so that I'm able to fit in multiple cultures there. So yeah, that's going to really lean heavily into the use of some of the Asian assets that I have downloaded from the store and all of that. Again, those weren't the store downloads that crashed my game. That was the business as usual bistro that prevented me from using the editing game mode, but I digress. Anyways, up next is really the creation of the Asian Square neighborhood, and I'm very excited for that because I have quite a bit of big ideas for it, and and whether those big ideas will end up translating properly will be left entirely up to the fact whether I can build them in in The Sims 3 or not. So whether I can actually pull it off is a whole other thing, but I can't wait to actually start decorating with it because, start getting the neighborhood prepared for it, since there are a lot of great props from World Adventures that I can certainly use to actually help depict that it's a different neighborhood that's an offshoot of the downtown core. So I'm very excited for it because it'll certainly be something that'll take on a much different look and feel than what we have been used to so far. When we get to the Asia Square neighborhood, I can't wait to actually start using some different vegetation as well. And that brings me on to something else that I wanted to briefly discuss as well, is that even though I will be using different vegetation to represent different neighborhoods, I'll also use it to represent the different climates as well that's within the region. And I know I've mentioned it earlier that I was going to use the height of the terrain as the signals for when different climate zones really start. And so when it comes to the suburb neighborhood that will be surrounding SimCity a little bit, I'll actually likely place it on a slightly higher bit of terrain, only slightly, because I don't want to I want the transition into colder climates to actually be more gradual than anything else, but I want the suburban neighborhood to feel a little more temperate with maybe some evergreen trees, but definitely more deciduous trees than tropical trees. So yeah, that's kind of going to be the idea going forward, is that when we get into the suburbs, it's going to really feel more like a transitional climate. And even in parts of the mansion hills as well that I will eventually develop. Like those will also feel more like they're in a temperate zone as opposed to a tropical zone. The idea being there that maybe Sims just want to escape the heat once in a while. I mean, it isn't The Sims 4 where you can die from overheating so easily, which is both hilarious and very sad. But yeah, the idea is that there are certainly different reasons to visit different parts of the map and different parts of the city. Now, don't worry, it won't get Arctic or we won't get Baltic with it. There won't be any snow-only climates or tundra climates, I should say. But yeah, we'll certainly experiment with how that's going to look. And who knows, if it looks really bad and if it looks like I'm just trying to force some puzzle pieces together, I might actually abandon the idea as well. But yeah, that is going to be the idea going forward when it comes to the vegetation. And yeah, I also decided to extend the natural seawall on the stadium finally, and also the watercolor as well. Like the watercolor will remain consistent throughout. So yeah, any kind of land that's close to the water, close to the beach, can certainly be said to be in more of a tropical zone. But we'll see how that actually turns out for the time being. And I'll see if it even ends up looking nice. Like I said, as long as I haven't exported this game, I can change my mind about nearly everything. It seems like I've done this a couple of times, but I seem to be finishing off these episodes with these lighting adjustments here. So I guess do I apologize for that? I don't know. I apologize to myself for it because it's such a tedious job, but you know, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I do end off this edit video with some of those Sarah Morrison lighting lamps. They're called Sarah Morrison or Sarah Morrison. Sounds like a real name, but if there are any Sarah Morrisons out there watching this video, feel free to drop a comment. That's kind of funny. But yeah, that is really going to do it for the rest of this episode. As would be suggested by the nature of this episode to begin with, the different portions of the map that I have edited, such as placing in these different street lights or placing down the beaches or some of the foliage and the plantation and all that jazz, it certainly suggests that these areas are going to be a lot more permanent, and I don't plan to change the actual geographical form of them. So that is kind of how it is shaping up to be in terms of detailing and in terms of what that's going to end up actually looking like in the game. It is a shame that I can't actually run the editing game mode due to that previous glitch that I've mentioned numerous times, but yeah, because it would have been nice to kind of see these all in the actual game itself, even if it is only in the editing game mode. It would have been nice to just kind of see how it's all coming together, because that's another way to sort of check things, which is unfortunate because I'm gonna have to export this to The Sims 3 at this point in order to check certain things and how they're laying down and all that. Anyways, I was rambling on a bit. I want to take this minute to actually thank you for watching. Thank you for enjoying this series. And if you have been enjoying your time here with me building SimCity and paying a homage and a tribute to the Sims lore and everything great that we love about the game, then feel free to hit the like button and also subscribe as well. Helps me to fight the algorithm, and it also helps the channel out a ton as well. Anyways, I just want to thank you again for watching, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.